Welcome to a podcast of total terror. Night of the Nerdy Laser.
What's going on, everybody? Night at the Nerdy Laser is here. I am Richard Yule. Baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah, okay.
I gotta throw you off, buddy. Are you gonna introduce yourself?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm Jeff Lynn.
Fuck off. Yeah, 173. We are talking dead snow tonight because we are cold. Not as cold as probably we're gonna get. It usually doesn't hit really bad until January here. In East Tennessee, but Jeff's already had snow, so
Yeah, future. I think I read some article that it was like 2 inches more than we've ever had in November or something. So that's cool. If it's a sign of things to come, I'd prefer it did that instead of bouncing between like 2 degrees and like 70 degrees. And you're like, oh, cool.
That's what it does here.
And then it's like, oh, great, got a cold now because of all the temp changes.
Yeah. I'm really excited about talking about dead snow. I'm shocked I haven't brought it up before, or that we just haven't covered it.
Well, you brought it up.
Well, I mean, I always bring it up, but it's from 2009. This was my heyday of horror movies. I mean, I was knee deep in shit here. But I mean, I was knee deep in horror, in foreign horror. So
yeah,
this explains why this hits so good for me. It's written and directed by Tommy Wirkola. So we'll talk about him later on. And apparently, I mean, I couldn't find Dead Snow to even stream. Like, I own it, so it's fine. But, like, you can't even buy it on, like, Fandango. You can't even buy it on YouTube. Like, you can't, unless it's on Prime, which I think I kind of saw that.
Yeah.
But it's not readily available. Now 2 is.
Yeah.
2 you can find everywhere.
You could only buy it through Amazon, I guess, the digital, and rent
It's
it.
crazy to me. It used to be on Netflix a long time ago.
That's where I watched it originally.
Oh, I mean, I don't know how I watched it well before Netflix. I mean, I watched it right around this time. And so anyway, we'll get into that here in just a little bit.
I'm cracking up because you said 2 is available, and not only is it available somewhere, it's available everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Prime, Fubu, Peacock, Roku, YouTube, Hoopla, Tubi, Pluto, Plex, Freevee.
What the fuck is Hoopla?
It's a library one. I use it a lot, actually.
That Freevee is going away, I heard.
Yeah, it's just getting absorbed by the main proper Prime Video. It's because it was its own thing, kind of, and they bought it out. So
what was IMDb, right?
I think
it was called something else before Freevee. It had some stupid name.
But anyway, it's going away, and it's stupid because Prime, you pay for a thing and you still get commercials, and it's like it wasn't that way for a while.
Well, Netflix, we have the cheap version of Netflix. Apparently, we have the cheap version of everything, so we have commercials on everything.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
mostly it doesn't bother me.
Give you a minute. Phone.
Do you have show and tell? Probably fucking not. Don't look around your room.
Well, I have stuff. It's just not here. You know about it.
Well, that's not going to be for a night of the Nerdy Laser. We got to have show and tell. If you aren't up to date on the news, listen to last week's episode. Towards the end, we're kind of rebranding Nerdy Laser for 3 weeks out of the month, and then Night of the Nerdy Laser is going to 1. Nerdy Laser will be just kind of nerd talk.
With some deep dives.
Yeah, we'll have some show and tell on there. But I figured, I have been a reading machine lately. When I say reading, I mean listening to audiobooks, but I'm going to count it.
Still counts.
And so I burned through the Clown in the Cornfield series. Love it. I talked about that. I think when I think my show and tell was Clown in the Cornfield, maybe last week or week before. So I just finished How to Sell a Haunted House by Mr. Grady Hendrix. If you're watching the video version, you can see the beautiful hardback book. So this one's kind of cool and special because he actually did an event here in Knoxville. Right before when this came out, he was on tour for this. So I think 2003, I think last year or maybe a year before. So he signed it, and he's really cool when he signs.
I
Because he has like he has all these stamps.
Yeah.
And so in every, I mean, I've got like, I got How to Sell a Haunted House signed, but I also, and now I read, this was the only book I had read by him, and I actually did read it.
Was it the rock and roll one?
Yeah, it's the We Sold Our Souls, which I love. I thought he signed this one too.
So I started with his stuff. I think I started with horror.
Oh yeah, there we go. So the cover is cool. Not to interrupt you, Jeff, but to interrupt you. And then
Oh, Richard. I think the first one I read of his was Horror Store, and I was like, well, that was kind of creative.
I mean, that was the big one. Like, I remember people talking about it.
Yeah, so then I found We Sold Our Soul because I think I found it on an app or some, like my library app, and I was like, is this even his? Like, I thought Horror Store was his first one, but no, I read that, and then I think I read his next one after. And then you got me one signed. You sent
Did
me
I get you How to Sell a Haunted House?
I don't know if it was that one or if it was I'll have to look which one. I still have the book back there.
Yeah, I got that.
But he was like, for Jeff, if you do exist or something like that.
Because, yeah. Because he was like, who is this guy? Why am I signing up to him? I was like, well, he's in Colorado. Because he said, why isn't he here? And but he's a cool guy. He did an event at Central Cinema, one of my favorite places here. And what movie did we see at Central Cinema? You came here, didn't you?
Pearl.
Central Cinema's cool, man. They're doing an event this month. Silent Night, Deadly Nights. Robert Brian Wilson's coming in.
Oh wow!
So I'm excited.
Cool. I wish we had something like that, but there's just this place.
I wish their hours. Well, they're like a half hour from me, so it's not super convenient for me. And I wish some of their hours, like last night, I was off today, and they were showing Jurassic Park all weekend, but their last showing was at 7, and I couldn't go to that. But if they had like a 9:30, I could have gone. But so their hours aren't the best for me, but pretty normal for movie hours. So yeah, I mean, I have I've been addicted to Superman the animated series, not to break the horror thing, but you're now addicted to Batman the animated series.
I mean, I used to like it as a show.
Yeah, I liked it too.
I was later. I came onto it later. Like I mean, I know I watched episodes when it would air, but like I don't remember them as much as I probably could have. But then I went back and rewatched it a couple times, and I was like, wow, I missed like a lot. But it's pretty good. I mean, kind of like me and you said off air, we were talking about the nostalgia factor of stuff and just how times change, so you kind of feel differently about things. But I mean, I could see that in there, and I could see you having that problem with this. But I just kind of try to not think too much about that stuff. So I give it like a fair advance or like a fair way to gauge it.
I just don't think every episode is great, which is fine. But yeah, every now and then I'll pick, like, the Clayface episodes are awesome, and they do a really good job at villains. So I'm enjoying the Superman show. I'm watching a 2-parter with Lobo right now, and it's really fun. So.
Nice. Do you want me to talk about what you've caused me to order as my show and tell? I'll show it at some point. I'm sure when we cover Batman on.
Sure. So I've gotten on the train of Superman animated series. So I now have graphic novels of the card. They turned the animated series if you ever want to find Batman the animated series on comic book form, it's Batman Adventures, and then it's Superman Adventures. They changed the name. So I got the first two things of that. I got and then I've ordered a bunch of animated stuff, um, toys from Kenner.
When was the run for Batman Adventures? Was that like 80s?
No, no, no. I mean, it would have been the same as the cartoon. It
Oh,
would have
so
been in the
around the
90s.
early 90s. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they turned it into the comic, and I think so. There, I think the Harley Quinn debut of Harley Quinn is in a Batman Adventures comic. This is just going off the top of my head, but I think that one's pretty valuable. And then Livewire is a villain. I think she's a villain in Superman animated series, and her comic book is like her first appearance in the comic is like $50 on eBay typically.
Yeah, I'm looking up. So the omnibus or whatever of the Batman Adventures, it's like 120. It looks like they have like some special hardcover thing.
I'm not a big fan of the hardcovers, but it's fine.
And then it looks like Superman Adventures was like 96 to 2002 for a run.
Yeah, that's when the run. That's pretty much when the cartoon was too.
Yeah, it came after, right? A little after Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
watched
7
Batman the
books.
Animated Show in middle school.
There's like 7 books.
All right.
Yeah.
So enough about DC comics and cartoons, but that's a little bit what you can look forward to on Nerdy Laser if you so choose to follow us on this adventure. But don't delete the feed or anything because you'll see. We'll still do Night of the Nerdy Laser once a month. So if you dig what we're doing, you can still listen to it.
Heck yeah. And then when we open up our Patreon that we're never going to open up because we're not going to open up a Patreon, we could cover some more horror for people.
Well, I mean, who's gonna subscribe?
Me and you.
I can't afford
Neither
it. I mean, so let's get into Dead Snow. So, I mean, Nazi zombies, right? Like that's the selling point of this movie. And I mean, that's the hook. So I was kind of sold straight away. And I used to listen to a horror podcast back in 2009 when this came out, and they reviewed. I mean, that's how I found all my movies. Basically, was through them.
Which one was it? I'm pretty sure you've told me.
It's weird. It was called. So I think it was a website, and it was called fearshop.com, and
Yeah.
it sold. But I don't think it exists anymore. And I think they tried to bring it back, and then it with his son, and then like a few years ago, and then I think it's gone away again. But it was fearshop.com's horror podcast. Like that's what it was. But I really like them, and I mean that's how I found out about Inside, Martyrs, Dead Snow, Let the Right One In.
So they're just pretty big advocates for foreign horror.
Yeah, I mean, but really at the time that's what was super hot. I mean, from 2005, it started with High Tension, I think, right? Like that was the first one I really heard that got buzz.
Did you like that movie?
I mean, I've seen it one time and I remember liking it, but I'm not like a crazy fan about it like some people are. I didn't really care for the twist or whatever, but I'd have to go back and watch it again just to see what I really think about it.
You should, because I've only seen it once and I don't even know if I've seen the whole thing. I feel like I was kind of in and out on it, but it's one I've always wanted to watch because it's Alexandra Aja's basically his first movie and put him on the map for horror, because without that then we would have never got
oh yeah, I kind of forget he did that.
He did that, then he did The Hills Have Eyes like 3 years later. Like,
yes, I mean
so that's important. And then I mean he did Mirrors, which wasn't a bad movie.
I haven't seen that one. That's with Kiefer, right?
Yeah, then Piranha 3D was his next kind of like big fun one.
Oh, I love that one.
He did Crawl, then he went over to Netflix and did Oxygen. And then he did that Halle Berry one, I think, that you wanted to go see for some reason?
For some reason, it looked okay.
I mean, that's a reason. I just didn't remember which reason it was.
I mean, it looked fine.
But no, I
um,
need to see High Tension. But we're not here to talk about that.
no, we're not. So the basic storyline is these medical students are going on a ski trip, and there's Nazi zombies there.
Yeah.
But,
so, I mean, I
so
probably saw this 2011, and around that time, probably around like Netflix or whatever, like you're saying, and I mean, zombies and Nazi zombies couldn't have been more in at that time. Like that, they were the
yeah, I mean, it's
so,
kind
I
of
mean,
weird.
and like now anytime I see Nazi zombie stuff, I'm just kind of like, oh boy, here we go again. I mean, it's been going on for
Yeah,
it's like
this
cool.
is for sure the best one, in my
Mm,
opinion.
you have to
Okay,
think,
so
yeah.
Tommy Wirkola, I'm a big fan of him, and I have the Blu-ray of Dead Snow, which I can't find currently because I'm a disgusting pig. But back I worked at Dollywood, and one of my friends I made there, he goes to Sundance every year. So, and he's one of the, like, they pay him to go, and like he manages like one of the cafe things and all that, you know. And I told him about Dead Snow, and because when the year he was going, Dead Snow 2 was going to premiere there.
Oh, okay.
So he took my Blu-ray and he got him to sign it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Probably a rare autograph, honestly. Like, but most of you have probably either scoffed at an American movie he did, or love the American movie he did, because if you've seen it, you love it, and if you just shit on the idea of the movie, you're gonna hate it. Do you know what movie I'm talking about? Don't look it up, Jeff, cheater.
No, I don't.
He did Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and everybody's in it. I say everybody, but like most of
Okay.
the men are in the movie
From this.
from Dead Snow.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool. So they probably
yeah,
shot on
yeah. Like,
location over there.
huh?
They probably shot on location over there for an American
Yeah, I mean,
company.
probably. I mean, and they, you know, but anyway, because like the old mentor, I think the old, if I'm remembering right, because it's been a while for Witch Hunters that I've seen it. But there's like a mentor of them, or this old guy, and it's the old guy from Dead Snow.
Oh, the hiker or whatever.
Yeah, the hiker guy. Okay, so I mean, yeah, we've already basically said what we're gonna say on the spoiler-free version of this. I mean, it is I'll say this before we go to spoilers, because I have a lot to talk about spoiler-wise, but I think this is the perfect horror comedy. It's the perfect amount of. I mean, it's got some truly scary scenes
The gore
and
is pretty
comedy, which
crazy.
I think most horror comedies are really comedy horrors. I think they put their comedy first, where I think in this one the horror is put first. Um, but that's just my opinion. But I mean, most people say what Evil Dead 2 is the greatest horror comedy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would put this one hands and I mean, I think this one has some legit funny moments, and legit terrifying moments too.
Yeah. I agree. I
So,
mean,
I mean, I'm 100. So I used to show this movie to anybody that would come to my house, because when I had my kind of, past life or whatever, I threw a lot of parties. We had extreme croquet. It was a lot of fun. I was way more fun back then, and
you're the worst now.
I'm just the worst now. And so I would have parties, people would come over, and we would always watch this. And every time, the people that have seen it before would stay and watch it, and then we would get new people to watch it. And it's great to watch with people, but you have to watch the dub version. And I think the dub version does enhance the comedy. You can watch this movie on streaming, even though we said you couldn't, but it's YouTube. But it's not dubbed; it's subtitled, which is fine if you haven't seen it and you want to check it out. I would suggest just watching it on YouTube right now. It's a good copy on there. But Dead Snow 2 will pop up first. So. Which Dead Snow 2 is a comedy horror. Like it is way more of a comedy than a horror.
Yeah. I'm guessing they got feedback from audience on this that the comedy part, they liked that more than the horror part. So they really leaned into it on second one.
I mean, probably. There's been rumors about a 3. I mean, I saw like in 2009, there's nothing like, doesn't seem to be anything in production or anything. And honestly, he didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything in America since Hansel and Gretel, which I think sucks. I
think
mean,
Aiden likes that movie. I've never seen the full thing.
It's fun, man.
I looked in the other room the other day, and for some reason, I found a 4K copy of it, and I was like, I don't.
Jesus Christ!
It's like, where did this come from? Are they just?
I mean, they put that movie in
house?
4K. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's crazy about that movie to me? So I saw it in the theater. And yeah, that was the only American. Well, I don't know. What's this movie? He did something in 2021 called The Trip. But it's not an American movie. So, and then something this year coming out or called Spermageddon.
God.
That he was a writer of.
Nah, get that out of
here. It looks like a claymation thing. It's weird. But also not American, so. But it's a shame because I mean I love his style. But so anyway, Hansel and Gretel, I went into it thinking it was PG-13.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's not at all.
No.
So that was an interesting experience on my part because I'm like, oh shit.
Hey, he can't say that in here.
Yeah, and then it's bloody as hell. All right, so if you haven't watched this movie, go watch it. This is a perfect time of year to watch it. And if you like us, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Night of the Nerdy Laser. Follow us on YouTube at Night of the Nerdy Laser. And you can email us at, you guessed it, nightofthenerdylaser@gmail.com. And on to the spoiler review, which I love because there's a lot of scenes in this movie I need to talk about. The first one is for sure the opening scene, one of the greatest opening scenes I think of all time. And I looked up the name of the song, but everybody's heard it 1,000 times. I think it's usually done at like Christmas. You know, it's a very wintry song. It's that
Flight of something mistletoes? That's probably wrong.
Flight of the Mistletoes. No, I had my wife look it up last night actually because I was watching it on my phone and I was like, Shazam this real quick. And she did, and she told me, but it was a lot of words I didn't really understand. And I knew I wouldn't remember, so. But do you agree that that's a great opening scene? I mean,
what happens? I just watched it today, but I'm drawing a blank.
It's the one where Sarah's running through the woods.
Oh yeah, they are running through the woods.
She's just like she's walking really, and kind of it gets faster with the tempo, right? So, you know, the song starts out like really soft, and then you know, and then when the song reaches a peak, the song stops. And all you hear is nature and it's panning, you know, and a zombie like does like a jump scare from a haunted house, like from under the screen, and goes, "Arr!" And then great opening scene. Great opening scene. I love the music in this movie. I love the comedy. I love all the characters. There is one of the weirdest parts of this. Well, there's two weird parts. One is weirder to me than the other, which probably says a lot about me. But there's one part where the guy and the girl that are boyfriend girlfriend, he like makes her cover her eyes and then puts a pillow over her
Oh, when he
face.
like tries to kill her on the couch.
Yeah, he's trying to kill her on the couch, and everybody's like, "Hey, fucking dude, stop it!" And he's like, "What? I was just kidding." It must. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't resonate with me,
Is
but
that
it's
it
fine.
must be a Norwegian or Swedish thing, whatever
The
the
other one is like the dorky guy, the dorky, funny single guy goes out to the outhouse to poop. And just so happens the girl likes when guys are pooping, and she goes out and has sex with him while he's doing that.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Well, why the fuck is she taking off her damn clothes in that cold weather?
I
And
don't know.
she didn't remove her bra, so just leave the clothes on. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's just a weird scene. And like they don't play into his character like the nerdy, like film know-it-all, like knows how horror movies and stuff. He like does that stuff, but he's not as like annoying about it, I guess, as like
Well,
American
it's not
version of
Jamie
that.
Kennedy from Scream, right? Like
Right.
he's just he's not that into it.
No. He's not into it at all. That's what I'm saying. Is like American versions like lean into that stereotype way harder. But I think it worked. And I mean, I thought it was cool. He was wearing a what was a Brain Dad shirt
Oh yeah.
at one point in the kitchen or the outhouse or something. And I'm assuming that's Brain Dead with Dead Alive
I would assume.
and not the Bill Pullman or whatever one we have with the same
Oh, yeah.
title. I think I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna look it up.
There's just so many good scenes in this movie. I mean, I'm trying to pick and choose because I don't want to. I mean, even though this is a spoiler review, I don't necessarily want to mention all my favorite scenes. But when the two guys are in the house and he makes a cocktail thing, Molotov cocktail or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes to throw it out the window, but it hits next to the window, so he burns the cabin down.
Yeah. So Brain Dead, 1990, Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman. I'm sure you've seen
Whoa,
the
that's
cover.
confusing.
It's got the guy's face.
Oh yeah, I think Jason down at the dungeon
Oh yeah,
talked
what about
about
him?
that. Yeah, yeah. If you didn't know Jeff, we have a sponsor. His name's Jason down at the dungeon, and it's
Whoa,
right here in Maryville, Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville,
seems like a guy I'd
next
need to wrestle.
next to the beautiful Smoky Mountains. You can find Maryville, Tennessee, find East Broadway. It's one of the biggest streets in the city, and get to that roundabout. Look for Southland Books and go drive behind the building, and the Southland Dungeon is there. And you will find Jason behind the counter, usually mumbling like an old man about something on about technology that he can't figure out. And but while he's doing that, you can shop in his store, and he sells vinyl records, beta, comic books, magazines, some really cool horror books, Blu-rays, 4Ks, um, yeah, just everything. Video games, tarot cards. He can't get enough of those. And but anytime you need physical media, he is your stop. So if you don't live in Maryville, Tennessee, and you want to see stuff that he gets in, just follow him on Southland_Dungeon and on Instagram and Facebook. He posts everything he gets in. If you do see something you like, he usually has good prices on them. Tell him you heard about him from us. He'll give you an even better price, and you can get that mailed right to your house. So yeah. Um, okay, so one of the funny things is, if my memory serves me correct, in this one, so you know the guy at the end where the two friends they've just battled all the zombies, and then the other guy shows up with a machine gun, and he's like taking the snowmobile and using the treads to shred a Nazi zombie guy and all this. But then sadly, that guy gets um, drawn and quartered.
Yeah.
So by the zombies. which is a really cool scene. The special effects in this movie are top notch. Like you never think that the zombies aren't real, that the blood's not real. Like it's all so good. Like it's done. I'm gonna like this movie a lot more than Jeff. I mean, I just do. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But in Witch Hunters, I'm pretty sure the same guy gets drawn and quartered in that
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
because I think there's a part where a tree, like there's a tree and there's like either ropes or vines, and it grabs a hold of him and is holding them and rips all his limbs off.
That's funny. I appreciate that. So I mean, I find it a little interesting that you like this movie so much and dislike Evil Dead so much.
Yeah, I mean it's all about timing, right? And like when I watched this movie, nobody was really watching it. I mean, really. I mean, honestly, nobody heard about this film. I mean, the internet was. I mean, I'm not saying the internet didn't exist in 2009. I'm just saying that like it's not as prevalent as it is now. I mean, yeah, you had MySpace, Facebook, and all that. But it's life is so different. I mean, now you have YouTube is blown up. There's so many people covering stuff and talking about things and just and there's the streaming services too out now, and so back then it wasn't on TV. You had to like find it and buy it or rent it. I mean, maybe Redbox had it, I don't know. I don't know where I bought my copy, to be honest. I'm sure Walmart probably. I mean, we've talked about Walmart before. That used to be
That was the thing.
the store, man.
Go do it. Go in at midnight. Grab those early releases.
Not now. And I feel like in the next 2 years Walmart's going to bounce.
I mean, they're the biggest people in it right now.
But I have noticed that it is not. They're not as big as they were a year ago. Their thing. It's just not. I don't think
They do
it's gonna.
cool stuff. They did that thing with Bloody Disgusting with all the toys and that stuff.
Well, and they've done the terror. I mean, they have Terror Vision stuff too. So I mean, hopefully I'm wrong, but I mean,
they got the lock on all the steel books, and for some reason, there's a big market for those.
yeah, but those are starting to. That's the first thing I've noticed not being there as prevalent as it was at either Walmart that I have in town.
Maybe that's true.
But it could be a case where they bought all of like Best Buy stock and bought all the stock and then sold through it, and it was like, well, here we are.
I think that's what happened.
All right, so we're kind of winding down here. I love this movie, as you can tell. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, this to me, the best comedy in this movie is, he gets bitten on the arm, and he's seen movies. He heard the other guy talking, and so he takes a chainsaw and chops his arm off, saws his arm off, which is done very well. Then he lights a fire and he cauterizes it, and he's just standing there, and they're covered in blood. He's just standing there and just looking at his like stump, and all of a sudden a zombie comes out of the snow and bites him on the dick, and and he kills the zombie, but then he's looking at his friend like, and then he looks at the chainsaw, and then he just never does anything.
Yeah.
But no, the basic premise of the movie is the zombies are wanting their gold. That's basically what it is. It's they're leprechauns, really.
Yeah, that was the weird twist. I was like, well, I don't remember that,
but anyway, I 100% say get this movie and watch it. I'm guessing you're there with me, Jeff, but not as excited.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I would maybe the atmosphere at a party would be different, and I think I don't know. It's fine. I'd watch it for sure, but I mean, I could see it being more fun at a party or something, or having people discover it from you.
Yeah, it's good. I like it, man. So anyway, we appreciate you listening. Next week we're going to cover Dead Snow 2, Red versus Dead, which is easier to find, and I have that on Fandango at home, whatever it's called. But I had Voodoo,
Yeah.
back in 2000. I didn't look up the date because we weren't covering it, but I'm assuming, I think it was 2014. I bought it I remember it was coming out, and I would just sit there and reload the Voodoo until I could find it, and
You were that
it
excited about it?
Oh, dude! I mean, no, people don't. People that know me now have no idea what this movie means to me. Yeah, people, and I don't talk about it as much and stuff, and like I was just very. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Like it really is. I just think it's a great movie. And Red versus Dead, I've only seen a few times, so I'm interested to go watch it again. And then after that, we're gonna stick with the cold theme, and we're gonna watch Cold Prey.
Yep.
And I haven't seen that in a long time. So,
And that
and
gets us through this month. And
yeah, I
then
mean, we'll do a wrap up show and maybe have a list together. Although I've missed some important movies, so I'll try to watch them.
yeah, we could just make it a little longer that episode and kind of do a little listing and a little wrap up and transition.
Well, I love a good list, Jeff.
Oh boy, do we know it.
So anyway, if they wanted to help us out by doing something for free, what could they do, Jeff?
I mean, I feel like they could have done it and they still haven't done it, but they could go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or our YouTube page, All Night of the Nerdy Laser, and they can subscribe. They could like the show. They could write a little review, and it should help us in theory.
I mean, but yeah, and you can also take a screenshot of you listening to the show, and you could tag us on Instagram or even Twitter. We are on Twitter. It is a little more confusing. It's NOTNL pod over on X, Twitter, whatever. So anyway, there you go. Do all those things. We appreciate you. And what should they do, Jeff?
They should keep it bloody.
Because somebody has to when they chop off their arm with a chainsaw. I guess it's not chopping, it's sawing. I mean, chainsaw and not chain chop.